Number 9, this item here, this is one that identifies these points of tangency at those ticks. In this case, this is important because what almost appears to be tangent points up here, you should very soon or quickly find out as you're drawing this, those are not going to be tangent points. If you draw everything else correctly, those are actually going to be points. They're noticeable points, corners, which then would translate into an edge on a 3D object. So, Imperial, let's get started. Okay, so I am going to start with the bottom line of this object. I'll just type, oh, did I do something wrong? 11. And I know that this is offset or copied up a distance of 0.1. Now, even though that is the case, if you notice where the center points of these arcs that exist, this endpoint will not remain. It'll actually be brought back a little ways. So we'll worry about that here in a second. I'm going to go ahead and draw a single center line. It is centered, a vertical center line. I'll just draw it about yay high. Can adjust it later. Go ahead and change that to red so we remember that's what it is. And I know that there are arcs up here and both what's concave, convex. I'll go ahead and draw this one here in the center first. Now, where it's located is a distance of 1 below this line, and I do apologize if the image isn't that great. Again, use your own intelligence, your own common sense, and to somewhat figure it out. Honestly, there's a lot of opportunities where it can be 1 or it could be something else, but that's where you'll get to make the executive decision until you learn otherwise. So a distance of 1 down here is where the arc is for the top. And so I'll draw a circle here, radius 3.5. And then I also have a center point way up here somewhere, a distance of 4.6 over and up 6. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a line from this bottom midpoint, the bottom horizontal line, a distance of 6. Double check the drawings on the papers. Yes, that is where that 6 comes from. So 6 up to there, and then over 4.6. And then I'm going to draw a circle from here, a radius of 5. Okay. And that's where you should notice this is that point right here that is not a tangent point on the drawing. So in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and trim from here to where? Should I trim it here? You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and do this. I'm gonna trim it like such, and I'll go ahead and trim this one the same way. Now I'm going to have to trim something else or use something else as a trimming object. I'll use that and there and there. So chances are this arc isn't long enough. I'm going to use the extend command on that later. You'll see here in a second. So I've got this arc. Now it's not trimmed over here where it belongs. I can mirror this. I'll worry about that later. Let's go ahead and do this arc down here. From this point, this end point here, it is a distance of, straight down, distance of 0.3. And then it is over a distance of 1.28 of radius 1.3. Now, another thing that should be looked at, and this is one of those areas where it's in air, that's not absolutely true because it says that this line here is a distance of 11 or a total length of 11, 5.5 from the center. But it also says that that's where that arc starts or begins. So again, incorrect. Either the arc has to change or the length of this line has to change. Now, I'll just, honestly, doesn't matter, but I'm going to go ahead, and since I had that line first, I'll give it precedence, and I'll go ahead and click here. Now again, notice even though I'm here, the object snap is being displayed, so that is where it's going to go to. So this actually has a radius of 1.3147, or rounded down to 1.31, 1/100th of an inch off, actually just over that. But so I'm going to go with that there. I'll go ahead and trim using this line and get rid of these construction lines showing me. This is why I'm able to delete those. Click on an arc, click on a circle, and it'll show you where that center is. So, okay, so I know that this arc should have come down all the way to be tangent with this arc. Now, that might be a situation where, let's find out if it's going to work. Since I changed this from what was in the book or on the pages, this may no longer be tangent. I don't know. We're going to find out. So this is one of those problems that have a little bit too many errors. This would be a good one probably to figure out what you can create best you can with the knowledge you have, experience you have, and then go back to your boss, supervisor, customer, whomever. But don't just go back from here. Go back with something. They may not be able to understand the situation, the problems that you're trying to explain to them. Go back with a visual, with a graphic. Don't necessarily go back with just all the mistakes, but you can go ahead and create something that you think is the best choice. Then you can also create one using the dimensions they have or they gave you to show where things don't match up. The fact that this arc didn't actually end or connect at this end point of the line, so on and so forth. So at this time, let's just go ahead and move forward. I'm going to use the extend command, EX. I'm going to say to extend to here, and if it's going to miss, it'll give me a no-go. Otherwise, it'll go there, and it does go there. So I'm also going to go on past. So let's go ahead and extend to here this arc. Now notice it'll go all the way past. That's why it asks you first, what's the trimming objects for trim, and what's the boundary or the extend to objects, the what creates that boundary that we're going to extend something else to. Now I'm able to zoom in here, and I'm going to RE for regenerate. This is that circle that's up above, and this one is the circle that's down below, and I see that is definitely not a tangent point. Now, a lot of different things I can do differently. Technically, we need to change at least one dimension, whether it's the radius of 5, change it to something else, increase the 6, increase the 4.6, whatever it may be. Now, let's go ahead and make this tangent using the dimension that I used, or the dimension you used, doesn't matter. I'm going to erase this. Now I know this is where the endpoint of that circle or that arc was, so I'm going to keep that. That is the horizontal length of 4.6, and currently it is at a distance of 6 above that bottom line. The other thing I'm going to say, now again, I'm going to say one of these is going to have to change. But until then, I definitely want this to be tangent. Now, I don't necessarily have another circle form that is, let's say, part of the location of the center and or the radius and a tangency, but I'm going to do it a different way. If you're looking in your book, one thing I do know that is true about that center point up above on the right is it is a distance of, per the book, a distance of 6.3 from the center point down below, the center of this arc. Why? Because, well, if I were to draw a line from the center of this arc to the center of something else, and then it would be a distance of the radius here plus this radius of that smaller arc. So you just add them up. Now in this case, I'm going to go ahead and draw it here from this point because I have it. And instead of specifying a radius, I'm going to shift right click and I'm going to say tangent to this object here. Now notice where I'm located, and it says tangent. Let's see if it snaps it to where it should be. And yes, it does. Okay, now if I double click, this is actually a radius of 4.9968. So basically 32 10,000ths of an inch off. Actually, it might even be a little bit more because again, this is rounded. I only have 4 decimal places here. So rounded, that is still going to come up as 5.00. So I'm not too concerned about it again. I do know that this is now not there. If I didn't know that, when I trim here and here, and I try to trim this, it's not going to allow me to do that. Well, that's because this is not intersecting. So this cannot be a trimming object. So I'll do a trim here to here, just to figure out later what's going on. I zoom in, I see that that's not connected. So again, all I have to do is EX extend to here and click there. And now they are perfectly. Now, don't worry about the fact that it looks like they're not connected. Again, system resources, we are zoomed in really far. So system resources, it's not going to keep calculating that. Otherwise, it'll consume all the power and processing energy from the computer. So RE, right click, and it fixes it. So there we go. Now I can do a trim here and get rid of that. So, and I know this is perfectly tangent, so I can trim this using that there. And this again is a perfect tangent point. So I'm just about done. Definitely want to bring this to a close. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mirror this about that point. And, oh, forgot to select that it is not to erase source objects. Now I can trim this there, and I am done. So if I need to change this back to a red, like, oh, actually I think I had another one. There it is. Get rid of those objects, get rid of that object, and there we have it. Now clear here, and just because I just now noticed it, I failed to trim this and this. So again, those lines, this horizontal line is not exactly the same length as this horizontal line. Now we are done.